Awesome. Thank you, Kim, as always, for the great introduction. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of the Buyer User Group meeting, August 25th, 2026, with our focus today on the version 180 to 182 upgrade of our platform. Just going to give kind of a brief overview of that today. Let me shift so you can see the agenda. Again, thanks to Kim for the welcome. If you're watching this on a recording, sign up for the user group and you can join us live. Kim had a fun poll that we did this morning. She also gives a nice greeting and brings everybody on board. We get a chance to say good morning to everybody. So if you get an opportunity, make sure you're signed up for the user group and you can join us live. But again, you can always watch this video that we have. But again, the topic for today, and why we're doing kind of a special edition of the user group in a month that we typically don't do a user group meeting, is because we are in the middle of doing an upgrade from a platform or a version upgrade from version 180 to 182. The things I'm going to talk about today and actually do some demonstrating. We talk about our approach, why we're doing this, just kind of a reminder, give you a little bit of an overview of the schedule, what our current status is and kind of where we're at, and then an overview of some new features. And I'll actually shift out of the PowerPoint presentation and do a quick demo, and then go over some future items of interest, some things that might happen due to this upgrade. And again, hope you'll get a little feel for all of these and kind of tie it together and kind of give you a nice summary and explanation of everything that's going on so that we can be as open and transparent with you guys as possible about what is happening. So let's dig right into the approach. Why are we doing this? Our plan all around upgrades, and you're going to see this going forward. I think I've talked about it in previous user groups. I talked about it after our upgrade last year, which did not go that well, is part of our strategy for making these, for performing upgrades or scheduling them and getting them put into the system, is we're looking to do more frequent, on an annual basis, point releases. We learned from our upgrade in 2025. For those of you that have been with us for a while, we did a full platform switch that went live in November of 2022, which was, a major transition to a new platform. And to be quite honest with you, there was a lot of fatigue. That was a very long project. It took a lot of work and a lot of resources from not only DGS staff, but really all over the Commonwealth to make that upgrade or that platform upgrade, truly switching platforms go. And we avoided doing point release upgrades. It took us several years to even have the tolerance to get one scheduled. Well, we learned very quickly that didn't go very well. We ended up making the leap was from 168 to 180. That was too many movements in point releases. It involved architectural changes and just really such a big leap that the effort and everything that went into that almost felt like a little mini transition project. And then at the end of that, when we went live with 180 back in March of 2025, we had environment issues and eVA was down. And it took us about a week or two to get it tuned and running properly. And it was just a very painful experience. So we're looking to shorten that threshold, do more frequent point release updates. In this case, we're only going up one release. From 180 to 182. I don't know why there's not a 181. That's just the way iValua does their numbering. But we're really only moving up one release. And I've been kind of equating this or giving an example of we want this upgrade to feel like when you get a little version release on your phone. If you have an iPhone or an Android, particularly the iPhone users, every couple of months, quite honestly, for Apple, they do a little point release. They're improving security. They're fixing something. But once you let that upgrade perform on your phone and you go back to your phone, there's not really many wild changes. They're improving something, fixing something, improving the security. I mean, my joke has been, they add a new emoji. There's a fire emoji now. Woo. So, but what it does is it allows for more incremental updates and fixes that are much, 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 much less impactful on you and your user community. So that's really what our approach has been. The other reason why we're doing these is we do get improved support from iValua themselves to help us with our program. We're going to be on the most recent version that they're supporting. So certainly it makes them more agile that they're not having to support an older version of our tool if there are issues or an enhancement they want to do. We're, of course, improving our security features. Every point release you do, with the way security is these days, there's always improvements, there's always changes to make sure that we protect our data and maintain a safe and secure environment. And then we also had some accessibility concerns for our blind and visually impaired user community. There were some fixes and some improvements that should have been made to those areas. And we are very lucky that we have partnered with DARS and DBVI to do a little testing with that user community. And I'm hoping to start hearing feedback on that here over the next couple days and into next week. And hopefully the accessibility concerns, some of them have been addressed, and we're going to test that and make sure. So again, that's kind of our approach and why we're doing this upgrade this year. We're thinking probably around the same time next year, we'll do another point release. It just makes us more agile and makes it less impactful for you guys as users. Where are we at schedule-wise? The UAT environment, our test environment that we have access to here. Some of you out in the field have UAT access as well. You'll notice we may have removed that and made it a little harder to get to. But again, the environment here from a DGS, DPS, eVA team perspective, we upgraded that back on July 30th. So our guys have been testing for almost a month now, for several weeks. UAT testing's going to go through this Friday, at least the eVA team. We have a couple other groups doing some testing and some things like that, but we're going to finish our goal for our particular team is our planned testing, the things we have planned to do, the functional areas we have planned to look at. We're looking to wrap that up this Friday. And then up through September 9th, we're going to do pre-prod fixes and some additional testing just to kind of get the environment ready and wrap up any issues we identified through September 9th. That at least is the plan right now. Right now, and I probably should have put tentative on the slide, so in my voiceover, I'll say that. Our tentative plan is on Monday, September 14th. We will go live. So you will come in Monday morning and the system will be live. We will be doing the production update over the weekend of 9/12. We'll get probably by the end of this week, we'll move from tentative dates to more solid dates, or either that, or if we need to adjust this September 14th date, kick it out a week or two. We're kind of going to try to make those decisions this week about settling on our prod date. And one consideration that I wanted to get out here in front of everybody is about your solicitation closing dates. Are you getting ready to issue a solicitation? Do you have an open solicitation? What are the close dates looking like on that? Just something to look at. We will do some targeted messaging once we settle on a production weekend and then a production Monday for the system to be back up, just to directly contact anyone who has a solicitation closing on or around our production weekend and that production Monday. again, things are looking great at this point, and we're not expecting any problems. But you got to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. And right now, we're feeling really good about things being fine, but certainly want you to be conscious of those dates. The other thing about the production weekend, we're not sure 100% about when the environment is going to be taken on Friday, which let's say the weekend of the 14th holds, and that ends up being our production cutover weekend. We may take the environment at 5 p.m. on Friday. We may take it a little bit earlier on Friday, so that would be September 11th. Just something to think about for solicitation closing dates. And again, we'll do some messaging and get some notes out to you guys as we lock in on these dates. And certainly we will query our open solicitations and look for closing dates and make sure we're not impacting, to kind of give a direct warning out to those users so that we're not impacting our solicitation close dates and our ability for our supplier community to respond to those solicitations. So that's just kind of a little look at the schedule. And again, my fault for this slide. I probably should have said tentative. Feeling pretty good about these dates, but we'll know more as we get to the end of this week and settle in on when we're going to do stuff. Again, the big key for all this, and I want to be open and transparent with you guys. I want to talk you through what we're doing. We're really confident this is going to be a very low impact upgrade to everyone. And you're going to come in that Monday morning on the 14th, and you're just going to get right to work and no big deal. And we're just going to move and shake and make things happen. So in any case, that's kind of the schedule at this point, and more to come as we lock that down, and we'll get messaging out and everything like that. And if we are going to have the production weekend, you'll see messages in eVA like, "Hey, eVA will be down for a system upgrade." We'll post it to the homepage. We'll post it inside of eVA when you log in, and again, we'll do some email notifications as well about all that stuff. So you will be notified of all those things that are happening. Let's talk about kind of the current status and where we're at. From a testing perspective, I mentioned we're going to try to wrap up testing this week. We're about 90% complete, probably more than that now. I know the guys made some progress yesterday even. Just my rough math, I'm not as accurate at this as Tony is. Tony is our, kind of, for lack of a better term, he's kind of running the upgrade for us on the COVA side, on the Commonwealth side. About 6% of our tests encountered some sort of issue that we addressed and got a ticket in for. And an even lower percentage was verified as an issue. Maybe it was a data setup or a misunderstanding from one of our testers. So again, we're feeling very, very, very confident. Our plan is to be complete with our planned testing by the end of this week. We've got a very low incident rate of issues actually coming in. And then the good news is we're CGI, and the eValuate team that's working with CGI has been very proactive about when we have identified an issue, getting it addressed and getting it fixed. So we've been, it's so far has gone very well. At this point, if you ask me today, which is Tuesday, the 25th of August, I'm expecting the prod date to hold at this point, but we shall see. And then again, I kind of talked about this earlier. We are expecting an overall, no matter what date we choose, even if we have to kick it out a week to make sure we resolve all the issues we want to resolve, very low impact to users. And again, that phone example, this should be like your iPhone comes in and iOS needs an update. You run the update, your phone boots and comes back up, and you're ready to roll. And we're kind of thinking the same thing for that Monday morning. We're expecting a very, very low impact at this point. So, but again, that's kind of where we are. So that's really kind of the planning overview, approach, status, like where things are at. What I want to move to here this morning is kind of an overview. There are some minor new functions and features I'm going to read through this list super fast because I actually then want to flip over to eVA and I want to show you everything in the new 182 environment. So we're going to blast through these. So at least you have the slides on this recording. So you have a list of everything. And then I'm going to switch and actually show you all this stuff, some of the new things. And again, it's minor, no major wow, the look and feel and everything's the same. But I did want to show you a few things. So here's some new stuff that's going on in sourcing. Very similar to the requisition screen. The sourcing projects have this little caret on them, and you can actually expand the caret and you can see the individual solicitations that are within a sourcing project. So that's kind of cool. You can now browse not only by sourcing project, but by RFX or browse by a specific solicitation. That's kind of neat. The summary of the sourcing project, there's reports that run. There's several ways to get at it, and it does a Word and PDF version. So it kind of summarizes your sourcing project in like a printable report, which is kind of neat. I want to show you the duplicate sourcing project option is off the browse screen now, and I'll show you where that's at. We'll navigate and show that. And then you can do mass update of line items within a solicitation now, which is kind of cool. So again, giving you the list, and then I'm going to go demo these. So we're going to move very quickly over to our P2P tool, our procure to pay tool, and specifically with purchase order. There's a PO history tab now on the left-hand menu that shows you a change order summary. That's pretty neat. There is a workflow overview. Now, this isn't going to impact a lot of you, except maybe those organizations that do integration, because POs also go through integration, and you can very quickly click on the workflow overview and see where it is, where a PO is in the integration process. Like what is it waiting on? Is it waiting on a response from your ERP? You can kind of see that very quickly. For those of you that don't do real-time integration, your POs are just going to process and go out to the supplier. But I'll show you the workflow overview. And then there's a notification summary on the POs as well, where you can there's now a little email folder, and you can see the various notifications that have gone out about the purchase orders. Requisitions, there's a workflow overview tab on the requisitions as well. Still, if you really want to see what's going on with workflow, it's good to dive into the workflow tab. But what we've noticed, the workflow overview tab is very handy for a requisition that's in progress. You can very quickly see which approver is pending, like who's up. Okay, my rec's still in progress. I can go into the rec, click the overview tab, and I can see instantaneously, oh, that's with this set of people or this particular group or role. You can very quickly see where it's at. So that's kind of cool. There is in the catalog screen the ability to explore all variations. This may not impact a lot of you. This is really where you have catalogs from the same supplier and item, maybe across different contracts. Again, this may not impact all of you, but I'll show you what it looks like. And it's really same supplier, same item if it's loaded, maybe for like a different contract or a different organization. And again, a lot of you guys kind of have a narrow view of things. You have your agency specific contracts and your statewide contracts, and you're not really seeing this, but if that pops up, I'll let you see what that looks like. And then on the supplier side, something I wanted to point out, they have, very similar to what you have on the buying side, an amendment log, so they can tell what changed in a purchase order. So with that being said, I am going to stop my share, and then I'm going to reshare my eVA screen, and we're going to go through and demo some of this stuff. And give me just a sec, because I'm going to take that. I'm going to end this, and I'm going to keep my my slides up over here so I can see them so that I make sure I hit all of the great demonstration things I want to show you. There we go. I'm going to let that load up and I'm going to move you guys over here. All right. And I should be sharing eVA. I am. So you are now in version 182. This is UAT. You'll notice at the top it says V182 in red there, even though the URL still has 180 in it. So the actual URL has 180 in it, but I'm in 182. And we're just going to pop around and all those things on the slides, I'm going to show you real quick what they look like. So first, we're going to go to sourcing, and I'm going to hit browse sourcing projects. And all my sourcing projects are going to come up. I have it limited to my scope, the ones that I am somehow associated with. And the first thing I want to show you, you'll notice the caret here. So I have, there's a demo one. I'm going to go down. And if I hit the caret, it opens it up. And you'll notice I can see two solicitations associated with this particular project. And then if I want to, I can click into each of the various solicitations. I can actually sort them, which is kind of crazy. I can sort, which is, so you'll see, round 0 is the original, and then round 1, I did some sort of amendment on this. I actually have some proposals, and you can see how many suppliers I contacted and things like that. And for this one, I've actually awarded and contracted on the most recent version. So again, you get kind of a quick summary. And again, if I want to, I can click this link and I can dive right into the specific solicitation. Notice it takes me right to the specific solicitation from there. So that's kind of cool. So then the next thing, and let me grab that ID here. There is a new browse option. So let me just clear the screen. All right. So you can go to sourcing and you have two ways to browse. I can still browse at the project level, but then I can also browse. You'll see this browse RFX, and that's really allowing you to browse at the solicitation level. So I'll hit that. And then this brings up at a solicitation level all the solicitations we have. And I had that specific ID. The ID is not sitting on the screen. We've kind of talked about that. But if you know, like the description of the particular solicitation, I copied the number in this case. You can do a search. Oh, I needed to do that here, I think. Oh, well, I thought it brought up the specific ID. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't. So maybe I need to know. Well, that's a mistake by me. Well, you can see the specific. I thought it did ID, guys. That's my fault. You can see the specific solicitation description here. So if I do that one and search, there you go. It brings up my two specific solicitations that are part of an overall project here. I thought it did the ID. Well, that's, live and learn on that one from a demo. Hey, sometimes you do this with your live demos, but it does bring up the specific solicitation title. And then you can also, if you want to search for any, all the sealed bids that I have done. There you go. And that is the specific solicitation itself. And then there's the link to the project is right off of there. So again, it gives you another option to search at the solicitation level. Again, one of the things around a couple little changes, you'll see these three little dots. You see it at Browse RFX and also at the project. I've switched to sourcing project. You'll see these three little dots. If you click on those, you get some navigation options. You can actually get into the project details. You can duplicate the project. You can also run the project summary from there. Same thing at the solicitation level. You can go in and get into the actual solicitation itself from those dots. But again, you can duplicate the project from this level. And then if I go into the project itself, the summary report for this particular project is also available there at the top. So you can run a PDF or Word document, and it provides a printable summary of the sourcing project. And then the last thing here that I thought was kind of cool, if I go to prepare RFX, and then I'm going to go, so I'm in a draft solicitation now, and I go to my line items. And in this case, I have 3 line items that I've entered. I've got the open entry because I'm still in draft. You can do mass edit of these line items. So I can select all the line items. I can hit update selected. It gives me a field. I can pick one of these fields. So maybe I want to update quantity, and then I can give a new value. I can adjust it. I can change the unit. You get the ability to do mass updates of those particular line items. And again, you don't have to do all of them. You could do 2. I want to do these 2. I want to update selected. I select my field. Let's say I want to do commodity. And I can put a new value in if I want to. And I could search. There you go. So football, I could do a commodity update, things like that. So again, mass update within your solicitations, which is kind of cool. The other thing that, again, it's kind of a little navigation change. You'll see these little 3 dots. So I can duplicate this line item from here. That's a way to duplicate. And I'm pretty sure I can still select a line and, duplicate from here. So your action menu also allows you to add a line item and some things like that. But the big thing is the mass edit of the solicitation lines. So a pretty cool feature. So again, I told you kind of some minor little tweaks all over the place, and that's some changes for sourcing. Let's shift over to browse orders, and just a couple changes here for orders. Let me find a change order. Well, let me do this. I have my orders. I have a save search where I pull back orders that I'm associated with. And there's a good change order. So, it has the -1. I know it's been changed, -1 version 2 there. So I'm going to click on that particular order, pulls up the order, and you'll notice in the left-hand menu, again, you can expand it if you need to. So you can see the words. I like seeing the words. I can click on PO history, and right here, I can see that line 1 and 2 were changed, and that makes it kind of a little bit darker and in italics. 5 and 10, I changed from 20. The other thing that I thought was cool about this is this status is going to tell you what happened, and here's the various status. Unchanged, changed, substituted, added, removed, right? So if you added a line, you would see that the status was added and that it was a new line, and you could filter for that. So if I filter, for added, nothing comes up because I didn't add any lines. I can remove that filter. If I filter for changed, obviously I changed these 2 lines because I just took these 2 lines and added quantity to it. It comes up. So it gives you some filter options here as well, which is kind of cool. But the default is this is blanked out and it's going to show you everything that happened. So kind of a really, I thought, great feature on the purchase order, that it's going to add in this PO history, which is really great. So hopefully that's something you guys will take advantage of. The workflow overview, you're going to kind of see this everywhere. The workflow overview, probably the 2 most impactful areas are rec and PO. Rec being the most impactful, but I want to show you on a particular PO, and I'll just show you this one. It kind of gives you the workflow and it kind of summarizes. So this is telling me the order got built, the order got delivered, the notification was sent to supplier. It's pretty simple. This example, I'm not doing any type of integration, but again, POs have workflow as well. For those of you that have integrate do PO integration, if it was on the integration response, you'll notice I skip all that and it goes right to order delivery. If it was on the integration response, you could get a quick summary of that from that workflow follow-up screen. So you'll notice that workflow follow-up, let me make it go away. There you go. So even if I'm on the front page, I'm seeing, workflow follow-up is something I can click from anywhere to get that type of summary. So really cool to be able to do that. The amendment log is still there as well. That's kind of the old feature that we had that showed you things that changed. It's still there, but I think the PO history is just fantastic. So I don't know that I'll ever go to that amendment log again when I'm looking at change orders. I mean, I think this is just the way to go. And then let me go to an order that's a newer order and again, the notification summary is going to start populating for your newer orders. It's not going to backport. So that change order I was on an older order that was done before the upgrade. For your newer orders, once we move forward with the 182 upgrade, and I'll just pick this PO that's right here. If I click on this particular PO, you'll notice there's a little envelope that goes for your POs that will be done once we upgrade. You can click on that, and I can see that 2 emails were sent about this order. This is me as the requester. I got a note, an email that an order has gone out, but this is my supplier. So I can see the notification went to Charles Dennison, and it's saying, hey, Charlie, at Blue Ridge Fence and Window, you've got a new order, and then there's the number. So that's kind of a helpful thing as well. But then what's the big deal here? Well, I never got an email. Well, the system sent an email to that email address at that date and time. All right. So kind of a cool feature that's in there from a order notification perspective. So just some cool stuff that's going on there with ordering recs and orders and all sorts of fun stuff that's going on there. All right, so that's PO. Now let's shift to requisition. Some brief changes here and some updates with our requisitions. I'm going to filter this down to my requisitions. There we are. I've done a couple here. I got a couple in progress. Let's go to this one because I was actually testing and playing with the workflow back early in August, right after we had done the upgrade to 182. So go ahead and click on this rec. All right. And there you go. You notice we've got some of the same features that the PO had. I've got a notification link. So this is all the people, your approvals are expected. You can kind of see who's up to do approvals. Here's that workflow follow-up, and notice I don't have to be in workflow to check it. I can check this and I can say, ooh, all right. This is where the workflow follow-up, it's not the most definitive because it just says eVA approvals. It's not smart enough to tell you it's a cost code approver or a dollar approver or whatever. But I can see that Stacy and Shane and EJ are up, and they're up and they need to do the approvals, right? That they're next up on this list and it's pending. These have been done and that one is pending. So I'm waiting on these guys to do the approvals. Again, and we're showing it as a very quick method to see who's up next. If you really want to see that workflow history, you can click into workflow. I'm going to shut this down. I can scroll down just a little bit here. And I can get, a summary like and all those old things that you had before, like who did the approval, what time. In this case, it's just me. I did the the requester approval back on August 5th at 1:47. So all of that information is still there. The upcoming approvals link is still there. So you still have to go to the workflow tab to get some of that stuff. We're just kind of saying, as a quick hit, you're looking at a PO, or a rec, excuse me, you're looking at a rec, you're reviewing the line items, the allocations. All right, I'm looking at this. All right, all right, I'm waiting on Stacy and Shane and EJ. One of them, that's who it's pending with. So it's a quick hit. It's a quick hit for you guys. Before I move off to the supplier area, just a real quick look. We'll go into shop and see if I can find a variation here. I thought there was one right on my first page. Maybe there's not. One thing you're looking at, there's no real changes. Maybe it was with, it might have been this. Do a little search here. Oh, shoot. I knew I wanted to show you this, and I had the link in my mind, and I am drawing a blank as to what pulled it up. So we may not be able to look at that today if I can't jog my memory on what pulls up the variations. Oh, let's see. Maybe I'll do this. But you'll notice one thing I'm showing you here in this demo is there's not. Oh, there we go. All right, I got it finally. So you'll notice I went through several searches because I, must not have had enough caffeine today. I drew a blank on what was pulling that up. You'll notice all those other searches. I just had the opportunity to add to cart. There's our punch out link. I could go to a punch out, and then I get one that says explore all variations. So that's interesting. Why am I not seeing add to cart or a punch out link? It's because for this particular product, for the same supplier, I've got a couple variations of this. So if you see that, you just click that and it'll come up and it'll show you for this particular product. I've got, a couple different options, some different prices. And remember, I'm in a test environment and this has probably been loaded a million times. But the idea here is I've got the same supplier, the same product, and maybe some different pricing or some different options for you to look at. So, you'll notice there's some changes there. You can always click into the actual product itself to see the details of the product itself. Here's another one, and that shows you. All right, I got one for $464, $675, and $1416. So some different prices there for the same supplier, different implementation. So again, I'm not sure based on how we segment our catalogs, the way we load catalogs for you guys, how often you guys are actually going to see that. That might be a little bit unique. I can kind of see across the whole enterprise. But if you see that link, that's what it's doing. It's the system kind of going, wait a minute, I'm seeing multiple options here. It allows you to have a look from a shopping perspective. And then the last thing here, I'm going to shift over to the supplier side, go into my Blue Ridge user there. Go over to orders, acknowledge orders. This is available currently, but we were really focused on, some of the change order differences and things like that. So if I go in and I know these are not change orders. So I am in as a supplier. If I go into this -1, it says amendment. It has a -1. Our suppliers, working on them, recognizing that they've got a change order in this case. If they click on this, they have an amendment log in their view that, again, very similar to the amendment log that we have on our side that shows, well, the quantity went from 5 to 20, 10 to 20. The amount went from 125 to 500 and 250 to 500. So amount changed, yes. Price change? No, stayed at $20. So they've got an area to give them a fighting chance to see those changes when a change order comes in, and more quickly recognize what the differences are. So I wanted to show you that as well. So that is just a real quick summary of the items that we're demoing. I do want to go back in. I've got one more slide to talk about before we wrap up for the day. And give me a moment. I'm going to share again. And I'm going to share. Oh, let me refresh my share. I'm going to share my slideshow. Give that just a second to pop up. All right, there's the overview of features. The last thing, future items of interest. Future items of interest. So the other thing that this upgrade does for us is it does introduce, let me pull you guys over here so I can see my camera. Future items of interest. It does, the 182 upgrade does introduce, again, not only all the things I talked about before with, security and better support for my value, but it does set us up for some new technology and maybe some enhancements and some new functionality. Again, I should probably have tentative on all of these, but I just want to kind of talk to you and be open about some possibilities. The ability to do some AI implementation. We're pretty confident that the first thing you're going to see are some updates to our public posting areas. And let me give you an example. For like contract public posting, right now the search is very literal. If you search for uniforms and put an S on the end, that is going to be a locked on text search, and you might miss a contract that has uniform without the S. It's a very literal text search. It's not very smart. So the concept here is moving our public posting and the ability for our end user community to search to what's called a semantic search. And that's very similar to what you're seeing with ChatGPT, Copilot, Claude, things like that, those types of tools where the search is smarter. And if you say uniforms or I'm looking for uniforms, the system knows, well, we're going to bring back everything with uniform in it. It's smart enough and it's using intelligence to say, I know that this individual is looking for uniform contracts, not, oh, well, here's all the uniforms and then here's a contract for paper forms because uniform has forms in it. It's the search gets a lot smarter. And again, think Google AI, ChatGPT, Claude, Copilot, where you're more conversational in your search. I'm looking for all uniform contracts that are ending this year, and the system will be smart enough to pull those back. So much more intelligent search, much more conversational, not so literal and text based, which is kind of the search that we've been on for the last 20, 25 years, has been that type of search. So that's one thing. But again, AI implementation is a door that is going to be opened up and available to us. So really, really kind of cool from that perspective. Some other things, some other options, and some things we've looked at. And again, all of this, we don't know what the reality is. Is there a business need? Are we putting this in or not? But there is an intake module, intake management feature. And what we mean by that is it's a truly a form that an end user sees. And maybe they're doing a needs request or a true request for an item or good, or they need to buy something, but they're not necessarily going to go in and create a requisition. That takes a certain set of skills. You got to know PO categories and procurement transaction types, and you got to know allocations and all these other things. Maybe you need to know how to shop punch outs. The intake module kind of breaks that down and simplifies that need. Now, to be fair, we've seen this from a sales perspective, and it looks great. The configuration on the back end is a little bit more difficult than the salespeople are letting on. So we'll look at that reality and if the intake module and intake management module makes sense to you or to us, and if we have some good business cases. But it's certainly something that's out there that we'll take a look at. That third bullet should be no surprises here. If you've attended a user group meeting, if you've attended any type of meeting around eVA, the forum last year, we're going to continue to push for invoicing and the invoicing rollout. We're going to continue to push for that, and that's certainly a module we want to make some progress on. So that's going to continue happening. And then the other one, a new one that's kind of popped up, is supplier performance management. That's actually a module that was in our initial implementation. You can see Easter eggs, little hidden parts of that module, kind of all over eVA. If you've ever done receiving and there's a little rating thing pops up, you'll notice exception areas on like the PO where you can document exceptions. It's a very powerful tool. It can do cure letters, and you can consolidate your ratings, and you can do complaint forms and capture that all electronically. We just haven't fully configured it, turned it on, but there's certainly some, underlying requests for that, and we're hearing about that a little bit. And again, that could be something that we'd see in the future, but certainly, moving to 182 doesn't impact that. And these are some items that you could certainly see some progress made on, and certainly that third bullet point for invoicing. So that is, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. That really covers what I wanted to discuss today. I hope you found, again, if you can take anything away from this conversation today, is that we're expecting the upgrade to be pretty low impact. There are some nice new, very minor little updates and features that we hope that you'll be able to take advantage of. And here in the not too distant future, by the end of this week or early next week, we'll have a good, solid idea of our go live date, and we'll make sure that's communicated not only on the eVA homepage and within eVA, but some messaging and things will go out as well. So in summary, that's what we have. We appreciate your time today. I'm not sure. Kim has come back on her camera. I'm not sure if there's any specific questions that we need to tackle. But
no, I think everything got tackled behind the scenes. Tony was back there replying to things. Oh, very helpful. We've gotten some different emoji reactions. We appreciate you sharing your response using that feature as well. And look for the playback to be shared out later.
Absolutely.
This is on the website.
We are public and available. We're going to post that thing to the website and send it out. We're good to go. We're feeling good about this upgrade. So.
All right. Thanks, guys. We will see you next month for our normally scheduled user group. So
Absolutely.
We'll be setting the date soon.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be celebrating the upgrade and not coming at you guys like, "Ooh, we're sorry that went so bad." But we're confident. We're feeling good.
Shane.
We're feeling good.
That's right. We're feeling good.
Wonderful.
We're going to put positive in the universe and get that positive back.
It's going to be wonderful.
Yeah, it will be. All right. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we will talk to you soon.
Thanks, everybody.